This is one of a series of short talks on Brexit and considers the content of technical files as required for CE or UKCA marked products. But first, before we get into detail, as always, let's make it clear what we're not talking about. This discussion is not for food, agricultural products, marine equipment, medical devices, road vehicles, chemicals, medicines, rail, transportable pressure equipment, construction products or civil explosion products. All these have other specific requirements and not being discussed. This advice is just for organisations in Great Britain and not the UK as a whole. That is, not for Northern Ireland or the Northern Ireland market. For most other regulated products, from the 1st of January 2021, and unless the EU changes its legislation and Great Britain does not keep in step, the GB market will for a period accept either UKCA or CE marking. Many CE-marked products will continue to be allowed until the 1st of January 2022. For the first year and until 2022, in Great Britain generally, either the CE mark or the UKCA mark will be allowed. However, if an EU notified body or a UK approved body is required, which of these two approval processes used will determine which of the two marks must be used. Assuming either a UKCA marking process or both is to be followed, what changes then will be required for the technical file? If you already have a CE marking technical file, or if you're in the process of developing a CE marking technical file as well as a UKCA one, you'll be very pleased to hear there are only a few but important different areas. Presently, you can be confident that a single technical file can be used to cover both processes. Predominantly the same information is needed in both files. Luckily, there's no need for two separate files. Where different information is needed, simple statements or references can be made as necessary within a common technical file to state the differences. Although the technical file must hold a minimum set of information, there's no restriction of including other information. So including information for the UKCA in a CE technical file is fine, provided the EU requirements are met, and vice versa. So, what are the differences required? Both marking systems require a signed declaration of conformity, and copies need to be in the technical file. These are legal statements. Due to differences in content between GB and EU requirements, we do not feel it is practical to combine these two into one document. Thus, we recommend two separate declarations of conformity, one for CE and one for UKCA. Copies of both these therefore need to be in a combined technical file. Both the manufacturer's declaration and instructions for use should be in English for the UK, whereas both should be in the appropriate European language for wherever it is being marketed in the EU. The technical file should include copies of Declaration of Conformity and copies of Declarations of Incorporation for third-party parts. Until 2022 for UKCA marking, third-party declarations can be either UKCA or CE declarations. However, for CE marking, Finch recommends that third-party documents are CE ones. Where used, a technical file requires details of and test results for standards as they help justify compliance to the directives or regulations. Some standards provide a presumption of conformity, and where this exists, and if your risk assessment process supports them, no other justification of use of these standards is necessary. Simply list them and provide proof of tests or compliance. For each directive or regulation, the EU system identifies appropriate harmonised standards that can be used for this presumption of conformity, and they're published in the official journal of the EU. These should be identified as EN standards only and not with any national prefix. The EU have previously clarified that no national prefix should be used. The GB system, however, will be based upon UK designated standards. Technically, these are expected to be the same as EU harmonised standards. How the GB list will be published is still, however, unknown. For UKCA, standards will need to be British standards, not European ones. So the technical file and the declaration of conformity for the UKCA mark would use the British National BS prefix. For example, BS EN ISO 13857 for guarding. There still needs to be clarity on how the UK system will work. For example, when a new standard is released, when and for how long the older versions could be used. Whether this process will be in lockstep with the EU system is not clear. Although the EU system is mature and well developed, the UK one has not yet been published. It should be noted that both systems allow the use of unlisted standards, even though they don't provide presumption of conformity. Where the manufacturer utilises non-listed standards, the technical file must show why a non-approved standard has been used and why it is better for use. For the UKCA market, it is possible that UK manufacturers might actually start using non-EU aligned British standards or British published documents, for example PD 5304. And this might happen much more than at present. All the other required information in the technical file is common to both marking systems. Finally, where declarations of incorporations are issued for partly completed machinery, the same differences and approaches as discussed here are also the same.